I get what Andy Reid was going for. I really do. His heart's in the right place. But he was wrong yesterday. When he stood at the podium at the NFL Combine and made his first public comments since the Super Bowl parade shooting, now 2 weeks ago tomorrow, and said this. Take a listen to Andy Reid and his full minute-long statement from yesterday at the NFL Combine.
Right. Before we get started, I just want to put a shout-out to the Gavin and Lopez family for their loss with Lisa, and for the people of Kansas City. You know, she was a personality there, and a very good human being, first of all, and we'll all miss her, as I know her family will. And then just a positive word on Kansas City. That's not what Kansas City is all about. And then for our youth of America, that we gather together and make this is great. You're our future, and as great as we can make this place, we want to do that. And so we can turn this, which was a negative, into a real positive. With just a little togetherness and love, I think we can fix a lot of problems here.
Coach Speak 101 from Andy Reid. That's what that was. Now, it was nice of him to say those words. And I say this as someone who likes Andy Reid. I'm a fan of Andy Reid. But none of that's going to solve anything. Nothing that he just laid out there is going to fix anything in this town. First off, you know, when he says that's not what Kansas City is all about, I get what he's going for, right? He's like, Kansas City is not about that tragedy. That's true. But as we've said for 2 weeks now, that is a large part of what Kansas City is. Thugs on streets shooting each other, resulting in record levels of homicide because people with criminal backgrounds oftentimes are not getting prosecuted like they should be in this town. That's a big part of Kansas City's story, and the whole world got to see it on display 2 weeks ago. It's a fact. It's not my opinion. That's a fact. And that's why this morning at 7:35, we have one of our most important conversations of the year with John Gromowski, who is running to be Jackson County prosecutor to replace Gene Peters Baker. He is running as a Democrat, and he's going to be on the show at 7:35 on KCMO. Can't wait for it. But, this is the underbelly of Kansas City that honest local news people talk about. It's not just all rah-rah Chiefs. This is happening, and it's happening on our streets, and the whole world got to see it on display at the Super Bowl parade. And, at the end, I get when Andy Reid goes on to say, hey, we can turn this negative into a positive with a little togetherness and love, and we can fix a lot of problems. No, this ain't hippie hour. All right? The only way to fix these problems is to make sure that you take the worst of the worst criminals and you get them off the streets. And you get prosecutors who criminals fear, which they do not in this town. And you get a prosecutor who the cops trust and the cops want to work with and they want to work alongside and they view as a teammate instead of this office right now, which is viewed as the enemy. Whether that's an exaggeration or not doesn't really matter. That's how this office is viewed by the people and the men and women of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department by and large. So I'm glad Andy didn't get overly political, right? He's not going up there saying, yeah, if only we fixed the gun laws. I appreciate him not doing that.
Like a couple of NBA guys,
yeah,
Popovich and Kerr.
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
Oh.
So I will say, give him that much.
I exactly agree. I totally agree there, John. I will give him that much.
I kind of feel like, though, it's not his normal speaking avenue, and so some of the verbiage could have been brought more up to date.
Yeah,
could have been a little more succinct, a little quicker.
It was just out of touch. It was the wrong words.
It speaks to the need that somehow he felt the need or was told to say that, in this situation too, right?
Yeah. And that's fine.
We've been fine without hearing from Andy Reid at this point, right?
Well, I get it. Someone was probably going to ask him about it. So he's like, let me just get ahead of this and say something. Hey,
there you go. I guess so, right?
Thoughts and prayers for the family.
That's what Mark and I were talking about. This is the first time he's maybe been in front of the media since the parade, right?
He hasn't done anything since then.
Yeah, rather than getting asked about it left and right, they just make a statement.
Let me just say something, and then we'll all move on. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense for him to do that. And it's not like he had any pre-prepared remarks or anything of that nature. He just started talking. And there can be good with that. There can be not so good with that. It's not a bad statement. I'm not like, oh, my goodness, what an embarrassment. It's just not telling the full story, right? But it is better, to John's point, than Greg Popovich or Steve Kerr or some of those NBA coaches where every time some tragedy happens, they're up there on their high horse yelling about politics.
Enough is enough.
Yeah, who is that? Was that Popovich?
Yeah, I think so. And he slams the table.
Yeah, that's right. He slams the table. Hey, buddy, you haven't won a damn thing since Tim Duncan was around. All right? Can you learn how to win basketball? I mean, Greg Popovich is like the Bill Belichick of the NBA. He couldn't win a damn thing without a superstar, but he's a egomaniac as far as I can tell.
As if the people in front of him were the perps.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Like, okay.
Well, they have a very willing sports media that will push whatever these goobers have to say.
Well, there's that.
So Andy Reid, who, remember, now I don't know where Andy's at on, gun laws or anything like that. But don't forget, back in 2018, he did do fundraisers with Jeff Collier, who was then the incumbent Republican governor in Kansas, who eventually lost his primary to Chris Kobach, and then Kobach, of course, lost to Governor Kelly that year. But we do have an inkling of Andy Reid's political leanings. And I don't need Andy to get up there and say, yeah, fire, get a good prosecutor in town. I'd love that, but I don't expect that. And, nor should he really go into that. But it also is not telling the full story to say, a little togetherness and love is going to fix a lot of problems. Togetherness and love are not going to fix the problems. There's already a lot of togetherness and love in Kansas City. Kansas Cityans love each other in every corner of this city, every corner of this town. Unfortunately, part of the poorer parts of Kansas City can't do anything about it. They are stuck in these neighborhoods that are just absolutely going to hell in a handbasket because of criminals. That's what's going on. That's what's happening here. And that has to be addressed before anything else gets addressed. 913-408-7957. That's our studio line. That's our text line here on KCMO Talk Radio as we roll through a Wednesday morning, bottom of the hour. Don't miss it at 7:35. John Gromowski. He is running for Jackson County prosecutor. He announced it yesterday. He had a press conference here in town. And this is one of those things that we have got to address and has got to be brought up. Victor in Parkville, go ahead. You're next up.
Good morning, Pete. I've met, Coach Reid. He's a man of faith, and he was speaking from the heart, and, I really get that. But maybe what he needed was a teleprompter.
Might not have been the worst thing. Hey, Andy Reid is paid, and apparently he's going to get a big old fat extension of like 15+ mil a year. Andy Reid's paid a lot of money because he's an offensive genius. But, off the cuff speaking can be hit or miss. 913-408-7957 as we roll through the morning. Kevin, Overland Park, next up. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, Pete. I appreciate what Andy said. I mean, I'm sure he did try to get ahead of that story so he wouldn't have to field a bunch of questions, which is fine. But until the criminals have a genuine fear of the consequences, which is the penalties as well as the prosecutors, these crimes will continue like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Kevin. And I'm not asking Andy Reid to say that, but you are absolutely spot on. You nailed it, man.
Yeah. That's what they need.
They need it desperately. And we'll see if this guy, John Gromowski, wants to do that, Kevin. Don't miss that conversation. It is 20 minutes away on KCMO. Meantime, did you see who got cheated on? I don't know if there's hope for us as guys if this person got cheated on. I don't like our odds. I'll tell you who next on KCMO 95.7 FM.